It's time for Perspective now on the world today. Black journalists remain underrepresented in French media. And for those who do break in, the barriers don't end there. From elite journalism schools to newsroom hiring, many describe a system shaped by exclusion, stereotypes, and unequal opportunities. So how deep does the problem go and what needs to change? Those questions are at the heart of a roundtable being held here in Paris tonight on the experiences of black journalists. Well, journalist Estelle Ndjandjo is the host and she's here with me in the studio. Good to see you, Estelle. Thank you so much for joining us on the programme.
Thank you.
So, as I said there, black journalists remain vastly underrepresented in French media. In concrete terms, how does that lack of representation impact what stories get covered?
Well, I will say that, so first of all, I'm part of an association, AJA, so the Association of Anti-Racist Racialized Journalists. We launched in few years ago, and in the newsroom, I will say that well, I don't know how many times I've been confused with another black person in my own office, or I mean in the media treatment. And I will also say that we also say that between us we lack solidarity when someone reach to become, I don't know, a chief editor, for example. There is this I don't know, glass ceiling that is really hard for us to overcome, to become, I mean, something else that is stronger. And we have this, especially as black journalists, we have this, well, precarious, I mean, a way of life. I mean, myself, I'm a stringer, even if I worked in other media like Reuters, like Mediapart and such thing like this, and it's very hard to be staff, to become staff. And I would say that's the main thing. And yeah, tonight I'm hosting an event on black journalism. That's our second edition of Negrophobia Matters. And yeah, we will gather, we expected 200 people, and I'm very proud about it.
Well, many have criticised the idea of diversity in newsrooms as being superficial. Have you witnessed forms of tokenism during your time as a black journalist? Well, as a journalist.
Yeah, of course. I mean, to be used as a token, I mean, is more efficient, obviously, when you are a far-right anchoring, like in CNews, for example, we have our own Candice Owens.
CNews is a channel here in France.
In France, obviously, and who, I mean, when you think about it, I'm not, I don't consider myself as a token because, I mean, you are not the type of journalist who is like put on the front. I mean, more it will be like light-skinned people. It will be like white anchoring. Or even if, I mean, you're here and you prove me wrong, and I'm very glad of it. But it's hard to become a journalist, a black journalist, when you're not covering, for example, African countries or French-speaking area like media or urban. I will say stories like we have a lot of huge rap culture in France, and you will be put in this kind of box. It's unusual to be a journalist who cover environments, who cover pop culture. I mean, this is what we're fighting for.
Yeah. Well, a lot of black journalists have complained, as you have just alluded to there, to being stirred towards stereotypical topics like immigration, like les banlieues, the suburbs here in France, and as well as discrimination. Do you think there's an unspoken expectation then for black journalists to stick to certain topics?
Yeah, of course. Again, myself, I've covered a lot of stories about the banlieue, but I really want to emphasize on the fact that I'm proud of it because I'm from the banlieue too. It's just, for example, you will be only focusing on violence or police brutality in the banlieue, where you will absolutely forget about the culture there. We have a huge problem of the food, the street food, especially in the banlieue. So all those things will become a second or third problem when we can have stories when we can show how proud we are of where we come from. And this is something that is very missing in the French media, I would say.
Would you say that it's a systematic problem, one that starts early on from journalism school all the way through to, being hired into a newsroom?
Well, I was the only black person in my journalism school. So yeah, obviously, 10 years ago when I became journalist, I realized that I was the black sheep of my newsroom. I remember, obviously, I used to work with a TV producer who used to call me like chocolate or all those kind of my ebony creatures. And people actually warn me about that. They say, like, be careful because, oh my God, he loves black women. And you're like, okay, but this is just wrong. And nobody cares about it. Of course, Me Too passed, and I'm very glad of it. But again, it's also harder for black and female journalists to achieve a certain point in their career. And yeah, I think, but there is exception, and a lot of more and more exception. And this is why we are gathered tonight, because I also wanted to show together a lot of black journalists in the same room to stopping this. I don't know, we have this misconception as a black French journalist to say like we lack solidarity, and I think it's totally wrong. And I really wonder, like, maybe, to help each other, what we can do. Maybe we can give context, maybe we can, sit with each other and create media also. This is what happened with Mansa, so this is a brand new media. There is also Air Afrique. There is a lot of new things coming up that show that people are actually very, they think that black culture matter. And this is why I want to emphasize, I want to create like this black journalism culture in France.
Well, it looks like they are making strides. What concrete changes do you think need to be made for us to see the biggest changes when it comes to these inequalities?
Well, it's very hard to say because, I mean, I don't have the power to change a lot of things. I will say things change. When I think about it, I think about Mediapart, for example. They have this racial editor that helped them to be careful with all stories.
When you say racial editor, you mean like a black editor?
No, I mean someone who is, well, Sabrina Kessas is not black, but she's focused on being this person who check if there is no racial biases in the stories of Mediapart. And I think that every single media should have a racial editor to make sure that they don't have racial biases. But again, it's something that comes more and more. But yeah, this is a brand new. I think that it's a great idea to start with that. I mean, if you think about other idea, I will also say that you absolutely need to hire more black journalists, but I mean, the quota is not the problem. I mean, I don't want to say like it's just a quota, obviously, because it will be a kind of essentialism. It is not what I want to emphasize. But again, I mean, who has the right to be mediocre? Who has the right to be average? We have this black excellence pressure on our shoulder in France, and you're like, okay, but you have the right to be a young black student journalist and be average and be higher in a newsroom. And I mean, I say that again to remind people that we also need to rehumanize, to be human again, in a way, to be human again, because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Because there is, I mean, I remind when I was a student, I had this black. Female journalist, she was an anchoring also, and she told me that I wouldn't have a second chance if I messed up. So actually it traumatized me. I was a bit traumatized by that, because you're like, okay, people will never give me a second shot if I messed up. And when you're a student, you will mess up. So yeah, this is the kind of environment that we're living in France.
Estelle, great to get your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the program today.
Thank you.